What's up everybody, this is Master Ian Gamer. Overwatch 2 Season 12 recently launched to a mixed reception, to say the least. What on paper may look to be a pretty significant season in terms of the content additions, what with the new Hero Juno getting added, the new game mode Clash and multiple new maps, a bunch of new skins and a battle pass, 2 new mythic skins being the Anubis Reaper skin and the upcoming weapon skin for Ana, along with a Warcraft collab and a bunch of other balance changes. It seems like things should be pretty hype at the moment for Overwatch 2 with this latest season, and yet, in actuality, things kind of feel more lackluster than ever. So in today's video, I'm going to delve into the actual contents of Season 12, what all we got, how it landed, and whether or not this season is one that's worth jumping into, or maybe sleeping on. So first and foremost, let's go ahead and talk about what is by far the most exciting and best part of Season 12, which is the new support hero, Juno. Juno, of course, has been an immensely hyped character ever since she was first announced way back at BlizzCon 2023, and now that she is finally in the game and we actually get to play her, she's pretty great. Granted, we did already get a preview playtest of her back in July when they had the early trial for her for just a weekend, but it is nice to have her fully properly in the game now, and I gotta say, she is as fun as ever. Some people have been bringing up the fact that her balance adjustments have somehow detrimented her, and personally, I haven't noticed a difference at all, and I think that probably extends to the majority of Overwatch players. She still feels like a fun, tightly designed, and overall pretty well balanced hero that I for one am loving getting to play. Not to mention, she's clearly very popular in the aesthetics department, should we say, with her quickly rising to contest Mercy and Kiriko in terms of online popularity. So, at least at a fundamental level, I think it's very safe to say that Juno has been an outstanding new hero addition and is one that is very welcome to the game on multiple levels. However, that doesn't mean that she is without her caveats. The first I'll talk about is her impact on the meta, or lack thereof. Granted, it's still fairly early in the season, so we haven't really seen how she's impacting the overall flow of Overwatch as a game, but just based on her kit and the impact she feels to have so far, I don't expect her to have a major meta impact. I don't think she's going to redefine how the game is played on any level, or completely throw up in arms the current meta of hero selections. I think she'll just sort of fit in where she fits in and be a fun hero to play, without being super impactful, which personally is something that I think is just fine for a new hero. That's more or less how Venture ended up working when they were released, and I think they were a great hero addition as well. But now let's get on to the more severe aspect where I think Juno is lacking as a hero, and that is in the cosmetics department. Now, I'm actually going to be doing a separate video kind of delving more in depth with this because I think there's actually quite a lot to discuss here, but needless to say, Juno followed once again in the footsteps of Venture by releasing with basically no cosmetics. No epic skins, no legendary skins, and even unlike Venture, who actually got an epic skin in the latter half of the season that they released, Juno's looking like she's not going to be getting any skins at all over the entire course of Season 12. And considering what I said previously, with Juno being comparable to characters like Kiriko and Mercy in terms of popularity, this is a rather strange decision on Blizzard's part. Surely they could be making massive bank off of Juno cosmetics, so where are all the skins? I think the short answer is the lack of skins for both Juno and Venture, and even extending to other heroes like Mauga a bit farther back, I think is more than anything the result of the state of Blizzard as a company, specifically the Overwatch development team. We of course know there have been significant layoffs on the company over the past year, and I think we're finally starting to see the knock-on effects of that. So while Blizzard clearly could be making a ton of money off of Juno skins, and they should be making a ton of money off of Juno skins, the reason they're not making a ton of money off of Juno skins, or even making Juno skins at all, is because they can't. The reason heroes like Kiriko and Mercy keep getting skins season after season is because the skins we see releasing today were probably in development well before Venture or Juno were ever even conceived as heroes. The skin production pipeline isn't something where they just churn out a skin over the course of a month. Most of them take a pretty substantial amount of time. So while I think we'll eventually start seeing Venture and Juno skins getting added to the game, like how we've now started to finally see multiple Illari and Lifeweaver skins, skins getting added? The short answer is that it'll take time. So yeah, that's kind of unfortunate, both for us as consumers who want to see Juno in flashy, colorful outfits, and for Blizzard, who's essentially leaving a ton of money on the table, but it just sort of is what it is. Again, I'll discuss it more in an upcoming video of mine, but the short and simple of it is, it's a shame Juno doesn't have more cosmetics, but at least overall, she is a fun, cool new hero edition. The next most important thing to talk about, though, in Season 12 is the new game mode Clash and its 2 corresponding new maps. Now, Clash has been a very interesting one, especially for me personally, in that I'm still heavily conflicted on whether or not I really like the game mode Clash. And just looking at general sentiment online, it seems like people either love this mode or hate it. So perhaps it's not that surprising that I find myself splat in the middle and unsure which direction I want to lean with it. On the one hand, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't having a ton of fun playing on Clash, and both the new maps that got added for it, both Hanaoka and Throne of Anubis, I think are very fun and very aesthetically pleasing maps that I've been having a blast playing on. But while I have certainly been having fun with the new mode and the new maps, it does come with a strange sort of sensation, a strange sort of feeling, which is that Clash feels more like playing an arcade mode than a core competitive and quick play mode. And I'm kind of skeptical about how that's going to play out in the long run. Because while yes, I am certainly having fun with the mode, just running around in the chaotic mayhem of capturing points and fighting people, overall, the mode itself I think is kind of unintuitive to a degree that I'm worried about how competitively viable it'll end up being over the long run, especially when it comes to newer players who are first entering both Overwatch and the game mode and trying to understand what is even going on. For me in Clash, it really took a while to get used to the actual manner in which the points themselves are captured. And perhaps that stems from my time playing TF2 and the, at least on the surface level, pretty similar control points game mode that is in TF2, where in that mode you're basically contesting over 2 separate points in a sort of linear chain of control points, while in Clash it's all over a singular point, which on paper seems like, oh, it's just a hybrid of control point and the old 2CP assault game mode, with maybe an element of push in there somewhere as well. But when you think about it, smashing 3 separate game modes together in order to get a singular game mode might not be the best idea. And I think we see that with how convoluted Clash ends up being. The constant back and forth of the same few control points over and over again, with the eternal ambiguity of whether you're effectively on offense or defense for any one of those given points, kind of just makes the whole mode confusing. I often lose track of where I am in terms of capture points relative to what I need to actually win, lose track of where exactly I'm supposed to be going, whether it's pushing forward to a new point or falling back to one we've already fought over twice. And given the very fast pacing of this game mode itself, the hecticness of this mode is fun in its own way, but I feel like is ripe to become very frustrating once you're playing it in a competitive environment. You don't have a lot of time to really evaluate where you're supposed to be going or how to best approach it, and as such, things can end up sort of snowballing in one way or the other, even if you already have a pretty substantial lead. Suffice to say, Clash has been an interesting mode. Again, one which I've certainly been having fun with, but I'm very curious to see how the community's sentiment on it will sort of change as time goes on. At the time being, a lot of people seem deeply in love with this new mode, but I am curious to see how that sentiment will change as time goes on. Will people only grow to love the mode even more, or will they become increasingly frustrated with it, as has pretty much been the case for every other post-launch mode Overwatch has ever added? We shall see, I suppose, but for the time being, at least I'm having fun with it, and it seems like a lot of other people are too. And that brings us then onto the next portion of Season 12, the Battle Pass and skins. This is perhaps the portion where people are most unanimously negative regarding. The theme for this season's Battle Pass is of course Egyptian mythology, which is a cool theme in and of itself, but the actual implementation of that theme feels rather lackluster. There's only a handful of actual Egyptian mythology themed skins in the Battle Pass itself, with the rest being a random smattering of Polar, Wizard of Oz, and other utterly random stuff. And the skins we do get are kind of When it comes to things like cosmetics and skins, I will admit it is a very subjective take on it. A lot of people seem to be really big fans of a lot of these skins, and I think that's awesome. If you're a huge fan of the Oni Ana skin or the Bast Doomfist skin, then cool. I'm really glad you like it. But for me personally, I feel like this set of skins isn't really that exciting. Again, personal taste is very much a factor here, but I would have liked to at the very least seen more Egyptian themed skins, both in the battle pass and just in the season period, because as it is, the whole Egyptian theme of the season feels weirdly diluted amongst a bunch of other random stuff that's currently available. We do, however, get the very fantastic Reaper Anubis mythic skin, which, yes, I do think it still should have gone to Ramatra, but I will not complain about the fact that Reaper looks badass with this skin, and it is a very, very good skin overall. However, it does have some issues, namely being no weapon customization. Why? As soon as they bring back the different tiered armor and head customizations for the mythics, now they've all of a sudden decided to cut back on weapon customizations. We can't win with these mythic skins, can we? They're always cutting out on something. And in this specific instance, I can't help but wonder if the reason they've removed weapon customization from mythic skins at this point is because they're now also adding designated weapon mythic skins as their own mythic item. Is the idea that a mythic skin for a hero doesn't need to have a customizable weapon because you'll just get a mythic weapon for that hero as a separate thing? Maybe. In theory, that's not such a bad idea considering overall customization for a given hero's outfit, but when you consider that we're almost certainly never going to get an actual mythic weapon for Reaper, let alone a mythic Egyptian mythology weapon for Reaper, that really doesn't feel good for these skins. I would have preferred if the Mythic Reaper skin just had customization options for the weapon itself, rather than relying on the idea of him getting a Mythic Egyptian themed weapon at some point later down the line to compensate, which again, would be its own separate cosmetic they'd have to spend $80 on, but I digress. Overall, the Mythic skin this season is pretty cool. It has its shortcomings, it's by no means perfect, but it is a really cool skin nonetheless, and I think it is a welcome addition overall to the game. We also, of course, have the upcoming Mythic Ana weapon, which will be releasing presumably in the mid-season update for this season. We haven't gotten a proper look at it just yet, basically only these concept images thus far, but it is interesting to see that Blizzard is seemingly dedicated to the idea of adding mythic weapon skins along with the mythic hero skins, so yeah, it is what it is. I'll talk about it more, I guess, once it's actually in the game. But getting back to the overall category of skins for this season, the other thing, which I think a lot of people are going to be unable to overlook, is the sheer number of recolor skins added this season, which is something that Blizzard has already been doing for a long time at this point, and has been receiving a lot of criticism from the community over, but nonetheless, Season 12 introduces more recolor skins than any season prior, a grand total of 11 this time around, and yeah, they are what they are. Personally, I don't think recolors are inherently a bad thing to add to Overwatch. I think the manner in which Blizzard has been implementing them is unideal. Honestly, I think this really comes down to the same issues I brought up about how heroes like Juno and Venture aren't getting skins. I think the reason we're seeing so many recolors is just because Blizzard doesn't really have the development team or time to do full-on new legendaries as much as they used to, and as such, we're getting a lot of recolors because these are very quick and cheap to produce. So yeah, again, it's another is what it is type situation. I'm sure the devs would love to do more non-recolor skins, and the community would certainly love to get more non-recolor skins, but this is just the boat we're all kind of in at the moment. Hopefully things will improve going forward, but there's not much else we can really say about it at this point. And the last thing to talk about for this season's skin department is the upcoming Warcraft collab, which at the very least will be introducing a new Sylvanas skin for Widowmaker and what appears to be an Arthas skin for Reinhardt. I personally am not a Warcraft fan, so I'm not terribly knowledgeable about the characters in question here or their significance. I certainly know that there are a lot of Overwatch players who do play Warcraft and are knowledgeable about it, and as such are very excited for this collab. So again, I think it comes down to just personal taste. There's a lot of players who are going to be very excited for these skins when they release, and I'm happy for those players, but for me personally, it's one that I am not interested in personally, but hey, we just had the Transformers collab last season. I'm pretty satiated on the collab front for the time being still. And that takes us then on to the rest of Season 12, such as competitive. Competitive had a rank reset, which is a thing that I guess people who play competitive care about one way or another. As many of you know, I barely play competitive at all, so I really have no room to talk about this on this front. It is what it is. People either love it, hate it, or are utterly indifferent. Some other things that are worth mentioning though for this season: the new Hero Mastery courses added for Pharah and Zarya. If you're into Hero Mastery, I'm sure these are exciting. Balance changes this season for various heroes have been a thing. People seem particularly up in arms about them this season for whatever reason, when in actuality, I'm willing to bet the majority of players don't even realize anything changed on the balance front, because let's be real, that's how most players actually approach Overwatch. Although I will say the Life Weaver changes at the very least have been an interesting one to see implemented. At least on paper, these sound like pretty good quality of life changes for Life Weaver, which I definitely like to see. The addition of more avoid slots for avoiding players you don't want to deal with is great. I think this is a wonderful change and definitely a nice thing to have added, along with the option to try out new skins in the practice range before actually purchasing them. Previously, this was something you could do with mythic skins specifically, but now you can do it for any skin that is currently in the shop, which I think is a great addition. I mean, why not let players try out a skin? It probably will just entice them even more to actually buy it, so yeah, great change there. And the last thing I guess I'll mention is that, kind of tying in with the Egyptian mythology theme, there wasn't any unique limited time game mode for this season. Historically, we typically see the season for a given theme get some sort of game mode associated with it, whether it's the Mirror Watch event where heroes have different abilities, something like Mischief and Magic, which is basically a prop hunt mode, things like that. Those are always fun, even if they're really simple and are only around for a limited time. So it was a bit disappointing to see that there wasn't anything added for the Egyptian mythology season this time around. Granted, we are going to be seeing the anniversary event return during Season 12, which will actually bring back all the past modes, or at least most of the past modes from the past year, which I'm sure is partially why Blizzard was like, we don't need our own mode for Season 12. We're going to have all the older modes coming back. So it would have been nice to get some sort of Egypt mythology limited time event mode, but not the worst thing for it to pass on this time. And that then, I suppose, brings us to the overall final thoughts on Season 12. Well, again, for a season that had so much added to it on paper, the new hero, the new mode, the new maps, the new mythic skins and cosmetics and everything, rank changes, balance changes, all this stuff, it does in actuality still just kind of feel meh. I think a lot of that actually comes down to the fact that the two biggest additions of the season, being Juno and Clash, were both things that we technically got to play previously. Juno had her playtest weekend back in July, and Clash had a rather prolonged playtest way back in Season 10, so neither of these felt fully brand new with us getting to play them in Season 12. They're like, oh, it's the proper implementation of something we've already seen and experienced. I've talked about this a bit with past hero trials for Venture and Malga, and how, while the trial weekends was definitely fun and a great way to build hype for the hero, I do think they kind of ultimately undermine the hero's actual addition to the game in whatever season they get added, because it basically just takes the wind out of the sails. It's like, oh, it's the hero that we already played a month ago. Cool. And as for the rest of the stuff added in Season 12, I don't think anything was particularly outstanding or impressive enough to really give that punchy impact you would want to see in a given season. But at the same time, I wouldn't go so far as to say that any of this stuff in Season 12 is outright bad. I think Season 12 is probably just an underwhelming season by and large, with a few outstanding great elements to it. But at the same time, not every season can be overall outstanding. So I think Season 12 is just another mid-season. It's fine. It's not bad by any means, and it adds some good stuff. But hopefully we'll be seeing Blizzard step things up in either seasons 13 or 14 going forward, since overall sentiment in the Overwatch community doesn't seem to be in a particularly great place at the moment. We'll just have to see going forward how all that plays out, I suppose, but either way, that'll do it for today's video covering the state of Overwatch 2 Season 12. Definitely let me know your thoughts on this new season in the comments down below. Are you enjoying the new Hero Juno or the new game mode Clash? Are you disappointed by the balance changes, or perhaps some of the skins that were released this season? Either way, be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this video and subscribe. Hit up that bell icon, follow me on X, and join my Discord server to hang out and never miss any of my future Overwatch 2 news, streams, and other content. And special thanks to my YouTube channel members who help make these videos possible. If you'd like to join them to earn some cool rewards, then just hit that join button down below. Otherwise, this is Master Ian Gamer signing off, and until next time, have a great day.